amazing. I think we're going to see this asset class become institutional.
Yeah.
And I think what gets me the most excited about is I think that multifamily units, no matter where you're in the States or whether you're in Europe, they're not designed to share. They're designed for families to live in them in most cases, especially, for example, here in Spain, or they're designed for singles, for one person or a couple. So for me, what is the most exciting is on the development front and on being able to create spaces in which you can fit more people in less square feet, be super dense, but still be somewhere where people feel really comfortable from a design and development perspective. Something we really focus on is this private bathroom, in-suite bathroom. It's sort of one of the big pieces in which we believe, in order to run at scale, is something that people do really appreciate. And I appreciate it. For example, when I first moved to San Francisco, I lived in 2 Starcity buildings in San Francisco. First one, I did not have private bathroom. Second one, I had. And my experience as a member, as a tenant, was a total different story.
Hello everybody, Christine here with another fun episode of the Co-Living Code Show. I'm your host, also the CEO of Kindred, which is software for the co-living industry. And we are still putting some people on for free for a couple months just to get them by COVID. Definitely reach out to our team, see how we can help you. Also want to mention our weekly global co-living forum. It's on video. It's every single Wednesday. I think it's like 14 weeks straight. Amazing people from around the world, operators, lawyers, like anybody to do with the co-living, they've been coming on. So love for you to join us. There's no charge. Just reach out and we will get you set up for that. Okay, so we are ready to launch into today's episode. It is Esteve with Starcity. He's over in Spain. So we go deep into the European market and how Starcity just recently expanded there. We also talk a little bit about their big recent raise, $30 million they got in April, which helped with that expansion. Amazing conversation. You have talked to him a while back. It was fun to bring him on to talk about Starcity, how they're growing. And what's really special is next week we have John on, who is the founder of Starcity, based in San Francisco. So then we talk with him about what's going on in the States in regards to co-living and Starcity's growth. And they're one of the big guys, so we're excited to finally bring them on the Co-Living Code Show. They have not been on before, and it's fun to have 2 different episodes with 2 of the leaders in 2 different regions. Esteve is employee number 2 at Starcity. He leads all Spain-related efforts, which are organized into 3 verticals: development, operations, and capital markets. He has also spent time raising real estate capital and developing partnerships with developers to establish joint ventures and growth initiatives that make great cities more accessible. Esteve has been in real estate and small businesses since an early age through growing Barcelona Homes and working for a handful of awesome organizations. He is passionate about developing new buildings and designing products and brands that create amazing experiences. His background includes developing and operating real estate and building processes that help organizations thrive. Esteve grew up in Barcelona, Spain, and went to school and lived in New York City. He graduated from New York University with a degree in finance and real estate and spent most of his adult life in the States, where he worked for a handful of organizations, most notably Airbnb in San Francisco and VTS in New York City. After school, he joined Starcity, a San Francisco-based co-living startup where he focused on real estate acquisitions, growth initiatives, and business strategy. He has been in real estate and small businesses since an early age, and through the years has also gotten his feet wet in early stage investing, real estate investment syndications, and event production. So let's launch into this week's great episode with Esteve with Starcity. So this week we're bringing on Esteve from Starcity. Is obviously running their Spain division, Barcelona. They just had an exciting announcement that they expanded outside of the US over there to Barcelona, and also Madrid's coming up. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christine. I'm very happy for you to have us here. Looking forward to having some fun on this conversation.
We will definitely have fun on this interview. So I know that you went to New York University and you studied economics and real estate. So, and you've been in real estate for a long time, including Airbnb. So let's go back to the college years and kind of tell us your resume. Your resume is impressive.
Absolutely. So I'm born and raised in Barcelona. I moved to the States when I was 16. I went to boarding school in Pennsylvania. From there, I went to NYU. I studied real estate. I I was very lucky. I did sort of this journey that I think is one of the most amazing things in American universities. That is, every summer you get to do an internship. So the first summer I spent it in Panama, working for a very opportunistic developer who happened to be the father of someone who I met my first year in university and still very close friend of mine. The second summer, I got a job at a company called View the Space, VTS. Was my first job in the US. Uh, I was there between Series A and Series V. Hyper growth company. Blackstone went into and invested on them. So the company was growing like crazy. I did data entry for them.
Nice. Hey, that counts. That counts.
I spent my summer doing data entry, but I think the most amazing thing at VTS, it was really a time for me that I saw firsthand what a hyper growth startup was, and I truly fell in love with it. And I think it also put this stamp on my resume, which I took a gamble with Series A to Series B company, and then it went into and it grew. And then the third summer, I went off. I went out west, and I got a job, or I got an internship for 3 months, 12 weeks at Airbnb. There, I worked with the real estate team. I got exposure to both their corporate real estate as well as some of the strategies they were developing on the real estate front. And after that, I graduated, and for the little bit over the last 3 years, I've been at Starcity with John and Mo and the rest of the team, and it's been a tremendous journey.
You know, and Star City's been in the press a lot, so we definitely want to touch on that. You know, I read a great article, 48 roommates living together during COVID. And it showed it in a positive light. It was great. So that was a recent one. So we definitely want to touch on how you guys are handling COVID in a bit. And then also, obviously, the big announcement last month. So in April, you guys closed your 30 million round.
Yeah, I mean, that's kudos to John and the rest of the founders who they've been most involved on this Series V closing. Company has raised close to $50 million now in venture capital on the opco side. And yeah, the article was amazing. I'm just sure John also can talk a bit more about it. But it was actually very organic. And a fun fact here is it was written by one of the members. We people who live in the buildings, we call them members, not tenants. And the person who wrote the article is actually a member in our downtown Oakland building. So it sort of happened 100% organic, which when I heard it, when she told me, I thought it was incredible.
No, it was a great article. And so to that point, like what else, during COVID, did you guys have anybody? Well, first, let's start with how many beds you guys currently have under operation.
We've got about, including Spain now, we also announced a joint venture here in Spain. We did announce that we've been working on that for almost a year. I've been trying to convince the guys, especially Mosa Crane, who's a co-founder and chief investment officer of the company, and sort of who's had more leading the expansion from the inside. So it's been more than a year on the works, but we formalized and announced everything a couple of weeks ago. Including Barcelona, we've got close to 550 beds operating currently. I do not want to go in deep on the operations in the US. I think, and John can touch more on this, but I think we had about 10 people leave. But he can touch more on this. I'm not that familiar on the day-to-day operations on the US side. Here in Barcelona, we have about 120 beds operating in two different formats. We've got one that is the more co-living by the bedroom, and then we've got another one that is full service apartments. And both combined, we've had about 7-8 beds that sort of have left due to COVID, whether because they went back to their home country, or whether because they were traveling abroad and they couldn't come in. So the impact on that front hasn't been that big, and we can talk more after if you want on the impact on what we're seeing on the new leases, on the leases that are expiring, which in my opinion is a little bit where we're seeing a more heavier impact from COVID.
Interesting. And then so I know that you have a prop co over there in Barcelona that you guys have, it's a family business. I don't know, Barcelona Homes, if you want to touch on that.
Absolutely. So I'm just third generation. I'm an only child. My grandparents were into manufacturing. They bought a bunch of wall caps, brownstones here in downtown Barcelona. These buildings were very, very much protected up until 1985 here in Spain. They were mostly rent control units. So they really made no money up until the late 80s. And then after that, they were just so deteriorated that for the past 20 years, you were just catching up and doing minor fixes. If you sold them, yes, you did make money. But if you just hold on them, the income you were pulling out of them was very minimal. And I'm the first generation to really go into the real estate business. My father, this on my father's side, he's a university professor. He's a PhD in computer science. He's never really been focused on the real estate front. And I started on sort of renovating these units at a very, very early age when I was 16. One by one, we first were doing a lot of vacation rentals, doing a lot of Airbnbs, and from there there was very, very heavy legislation here in Barcelona, and we sort of transitioned into midterm rentals and more of a student profile, call it, approach. We own about 150 apartments on that front, and yeah, with Starcity, the partnership with Starcity is very clear. We want to do three things. Number one, we want to operate some of those units and integrate them into the Starcity community, operate them as Starcity. Number two, we're going to provide development services. So from the PropCo, we've signed a contract in which all the renovations are going to be done by the Starcity team. And then the number three is we want to use these units and these buildings to anchor a PropCo vehicle with the Starcity flag on it. Yeah.
What a great idea. And so I'm guessing, because again, the announcements were kind of in order, did some of that 30 million, were you waiting for that 30 million commitment in order to do Spain?
Yeah, sort of was contingent on closing Series B. The expansion is we're going to be focused Barcelona, Madrid. Barcelona, obviously, we have a lot of assets to renovate here, so that's the main focus. And the idea is to venture into Madrid sometime in 2021. We're looking at different options and different partnerships that might happen on that direction. Maybe we go on our own. We'll see. But yeah, we're sort of contingent on that. So the announcements sort of been timed.
No, definitely. And you just named my two favorite cities in Spain. So I went to both like 4 years ago. Such amazing cities, and excited to see co-living. Co-living has really popped up in both those cities lately, which is exciting to see.
Yes. Co-living has popped up in a way in which I don't believe as much, in which is pure flat sharing, and in which is fully furnished flat shares, large flats, which I think when the market is very hot and you have a lot of demand and it's very hard for people to find something in the city, then that's going to be a solution. I'm very excited because I think we're one of the first groups here in the south of Europe that is taking a development approach. We're literally going from scratch. We're designing flats to be shared, and we're doing full renovations on them. We're doing a lot of private baths. We're doing stuff like, for example, very good noise insulation between bedrooms, so you cannot hear what's happening in the other bedroom. And maybe we're not going to grow as fast as other groups, but I think we're going to do two things that I think are fundamental. Number one, we're going to provide extremely high quality units, and number two, we're going to be in an ownership structure, sort of this opco-propco structure, in which we control both sides in all the units that we provide.
No, and that's huge, because I think that's most co-living operators now during COVID are now having to deal with the landlords and wishing they did, that they own the building. It's a big difference. That's awesome. And the scale is a little slower. You're right. So speaking of scale, what's like future pipeline?
That's a good question. I think the goal, 5-7 year goal, is very clear. It's a $200 million vehicle on the PropCo side. At least that's my goal. Hopefully John is aligned on that. But that's my goal here in Spain. I don't want to say a number of units. I don't want to say a number of beds. I think it's always misleading. One counts bed one way, the other counts bed the other way. But we do want to assemble this portfolio. We have a great anchor. We've got anywhere between 6 to 8 buildings that we can contribute here. And that's what we're going to be working towards.
I love your honesty, because I always say, because there's some people that say we have 100 under operation right now. We're going to have 5,000 by the end of the year. And I'm like, I don't even know how that's possible.
How you're going to do that?
And there's always 3 ways to count it. Yeah, right. It's not even possible, but it's like, okay, current units occupied, which you're very clear about. Future agreements signed, how many units there, and then, dream, what's in the future that you hope for. So it's definitely 3 different segments of unit count, but yeah, you didn't even give a future unit count. So I appreciate that. I'm sure our listeners do too. Let me see what other questions I had for you guys. Talk about the future of what you guys are implementing. Again, I think that the operators, watching or listening to the show would appreciate, and they're kind of coming up with strategies on post-COVID. Now we just went through a pandemic that nobody ever would have guessed. What kind of measures are you guys putting in for the future?
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. Obviously, communal spaces have not been open. We've got some assets that they do have communal pool, gym. Even here in Barcelona, we've got a big lounge that has not been open. We've sort of something we've done also. I don't want to talk that much in the States. I want to focus more on what I ran the Spanish side of the movie. So something we've done, for example, we had some members who've said, hey, we don't want cleaning. We don't want the cleaning ladies coming into the units because we're afraid that they might have had contact with someone. So we've sort of provided discounts on that sense. Another one where we've provided discounts, another couple of examples here in the Barcelona portfolio, is people were outside of Spain, in the UK or in Germany, and they sort of got trapped and they cannot come into the country now. So we've tried to navigate on a one by one cases basis, and sort of offer also, I think, pretty generous discounts. We've sort of also incremented the frequency of cleanings. We've been cleaning twice a week instead of once a week in most of these spaces as well. And we've had no events. There's been no member events, no in-person events. There's been events that have happened in San Francisco and LA. Obviously, the time difference here makes it a bit harder for us to participate. But yeah, I do think we're gonna live a new reality in terms of more on the operational front. That's pretty much the high level of what the actions we've taken.
No, that's good to hear. And yeah, I think you're right. There's going to be kind of a new normal that people, and you already mentioned, you guys are doing some in-suite bathrooms. And I think that's helpful too, right? When people are trying to isolate or quarantine, obviously if they're not sharing bathrooms, that might help. So no, that's great that you guys are being proactive. Were there any people, and again, maybe in San Francisco, so again, speaking over there in Spain, anybody that struggled paying rent and then you guys kind of made payment arrangements?
Oh, we do.
Okay.
also here in Spain, it's a big issue for me also because I've got mortgages that I'm paying also. So I'm not paying rent to landlord, but I'm sort of sitting in this position in which we're still paying the bank, the mortgages, and then rent is coming down. And we've also worked on a one-on-one by one basis, trying to be as flexible as possible, but also communicating to members the reality, and that we're still paying the team and we're still paying insurance and taxes, and sort of the balance needs to be at some point.
So the mortgage companies are still calling for the monthly payment. You can't delay that out.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Here in Spain, I would be paying.
Yeah, I'll talk to John.
Commercial mortgage.
Yeah, California is luckily getting breaks, right? You can't evict people. You can delay the mortgage out. Again, that's here. So I think we're fortunate.
Evictions in Spain, you cannot evict people until January 21. Huh?
Woo! Okay, that's
until
long.
January 2021. So you've had you cannot evict people until January 2021. People can automatically extend their leases also until January 2021. Even if their lease was expiring, they can renew just on the tenant side. I'm talking about global Spanish legislation. But no, the mortgage we still pay at the end of every
They didn't
month.
suspend that until January 2021. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Wow, super interesting. And again, I know you guys were in a massive lockdown quarantine, like don't leave the house type. Was that difficult with it? So you guys are hosting virtual events, you said?
We've here in Barcelona, we haven't done events. But yes, in San Francisco, we've been hosting. San Francisco and LA, we've been hosting beautiful events for these past 2-3 months.
Just to keep the community kind of intact and yeah.
Correct.
And so let's see here. What's your favorite part? Again, you've been in co-living, you've been in real estate for a long time. You've been in the co-living market, industry for 3 years. What's your favorite part about this industry?
I think we are an amazing. I think we're going to see this asset class become institutional.
Yeah.
And I think what gets me the most excited about is I think that multifamily units, no matter where you're in the States or whether you're in Europe, they're not designed to share. They're designed for families to live in them in most cases, especially, for example, here in Spain, or they're designed for singles, for one person or a couple. So for me, what is the most exciting is on the development front and on being able to create spaces in which you can fit more people in less square feet, be super dense, but still be somewhere where people feel really comfortable from a design and development perspective. Something we really, really, really focus on is this private bathroom, in-suite bathroom. It's sort of one of the big pieces in which we believe, in order to run at scale, is something that people do really appreciate and appreciate it. For example, when I first moved to San Francisco, I lived in 2 Starcity buildings in San Francisco. First one, I did not have private bathroom. Second one, I had. And my experience as a member, as a tenant, was a total different story.
Oh, I guarantee it. Some of the larger operators I consult with, I say that is that's number one you should try to do is the in-suite bathroom. You could charge a lot more and people will be willing to pay it, right? And you're going to get a different demographic. So I think people, in their 20s, okay, they don't mind sharing bathroom. I think once you get in 30s and 40s, they want their own bathroom. So that's super smart that you guys are doing that, here on out. And then, so the other thing I wanted to ask was, let me see, as you were speaking about, the design and kind of, do you guys still have your properties in Venice Beach?
We do. We have 29 Navy.
Oh yeah, I've been there. I checked it out when you guys launched.
29 Navy. We've got 2432 Penmore, which is, I don't know if it's Venice or not, but it's Venice. So yeah, we're there. John and the rest of the development team, they've tremendous focus. I think, Christine, there's something we can touch on, and I think it's one of the core things on us. You mentioned Venice, and I'm thinking about development, pipeline, new projects in LA. We've had this discussion. I've been with the team for a bit more than 3 years now. And one of the very big discussions we've had, it's do we try to build a company that is many cities, whether it's only in the United States, whether it's United States, Europe, and some key cities in LATAM, or do we try to go to not that many cities, but have a lot of density in the cities that we operate? And we've made as a company a very, very clear focus on taking the second approach, in which we have a very, very clear approach that we don't want to be in many, many cities. We want to be in a few cities, but the few cities that we want to have a lot of density. We want to have a lot of units. And that's what when I'm talking about Spain, I'm saying, no, we want to build a Propco vehicle only in Barcelona and Madrid, and we want density in the cities we are. And we think this is something that is, it provides tremendous externalities, both on the operator side, obviously, the property management and the asset management of running multiple units in a single market versus multiple markets. The numbers are just a total different story. The economies of scale that you can achieve in a local market are great. But we also think it provides tremendous value for the community. And I'm going to just give two very clear examples, or three examples, actually. The first one is on the community side. If we have a community that's 100 people and we put a book club, we have a book club and only 2% of people participate, that's 2 people. If we have a community that's 1,000 people and 2% of people participate, that's 20 people. And that's where it becomes exciting, once you have the 20 people book club, not a 2 people. I think the number 2, this is number 1 reason. On the demand side, now obviously on the economies of scale, on the supply side, it's another story. And the number 2 is the amenities. If we are able to provide multiple lounges, multiple rooftops, multiple communal areas that are scattered across the city, and you can walk from one to the other, then you really become something else. You don't become the traditional multifamily operator or property manager. And you're also not the hotel, because you're a local player and it's people who are living on you and they can move around and access these spaces. And the third point on this, and last, and the place where I think a lot of people have gotten it wrong, or maybe not wrong, but who I don't share how they've gotten it, like over the past 3-4 years. I think the externalities for the members, for the tenants, they are very, very local. They're hyper local. If I have a tenant here in Barcelona, they have value if we have more units here in Barcelona. They really have no value if I have units in Miami, or I have units in LA, or I have units in San Francisco, or I have units in London. Because the reality is that people, the majority of people, global nomads is one story, but the majority of people who are our members, they're not moving around that much. And the true value is for them to have a large local, hyper-local community. And even if Starcity has taken, now we've taken this approach, and we've gone on and we're building Barcelona and Madrid under the same umbrella, under the same brand. We're utilizing a lot of the tech, a lot of the design, things that have been developed in the US and working under the US umbrella. We're not losing focus on this hyper-local approach, and we're truly focusing on building this density on these different local markets.
And you didn't even mention, like, and again, on the operational side is like sharing maintenance, maintenance team that could kind of jump around the properties. So again, like you said, economies of scale, like really kick in.
Across the board, from leasing to cleaning to maintenance to FF&E, everything. So absolutely across the board, both on the demand and on the supply side of the story.
And the other thing, and I think why Starcity comes up so often when people talk about large co-living operators, is that you guys are, on the development side, on the operations side, and on the capital side. Like, you guys are kind of all doing this in-house, which is really cool and like a huge advantage.
We've taken a vertically integrated approach. There's also a technology layer and design and experience component of the story.
Talk about that a little bit. You're building in-house, right?
It's also in-house. I think on the technology front, we sort of have two avenues. We have one avenue that's on the member facing, which is, it has 2 big verticals. One is the mobile app, and then the other one is the member dashboard. It's a very simple to use way to do stuff like report maintenance issues, to pay rent, to meet the people in the community, to know the events that are happening. And then on on the other side, on the property management side, we've got Teller, which is a payment processor, to be able to charge rent to members directly, and we've got some PMS, some PMS applications. In which my favorite one, and John can say his favorite one, but my favorite one is on the leasing front, it's on the tour front, and it's on the ability to schedule tours and to be in touch with prospective members, in which we strive to get an answer within 30 minutes during business hours if there's an inquiry that is coming on. And in part is due to the technology piece and the great job that Josh and the rest of the team have done here.
And then do you guys do the virtual like walkthrough tours, the 360-degree tours?
We've rolled that out in most of the San Francisco properties. The Matterport, we've been using Matterport.
Oh, cool.
And,
yeah, that one's good.
Yeah, we're doing the same here in Barcelona. Slowly rolling it out as well.
Awesome. No, good stuff. And I think, you guys implementing that, and the operators are rushing to implement that because they can't do tours right now. So good stuff. So I've got one more question for you. My last question that I ask every single guest. Where do you see co-living in 10 years from now? So the year 2030.
Good question. I think it's going to be a total different story. I think we're going to see an institutional on the supply side. I think we're going to see an institutional asset class. I think this decade we're going to see a lot of institutional capital flowing into the asset class. I do not believe cities are over. I don't buy that. We're in a maybe 12 to 24 months that is going to be rough. But we'll get through it, and humanity is going to keep going as it is, and LA and San Francisco and New York and Miami and all the great cities are going to be exciting, and people are going to be wanting them, and the prices are going to keep going up because cities are what they are, and the amount of people flowing into them is what it is. So in short, I think in a decade we're going to see a lot more institutional level size projects pop up across the world. And I think that on the operator side, I think the winners are going to be the hyper local guys. I don't think we're gonna have something similar to what we had with in the office, which we work in, which you have one flag. And maybe it makes sense because you have companies moving around a lot more. And I think digital nomads, yes, they exist, but they're very, very short proportion. The majority of people will live in one city, and our life is here.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. No. And I mean, I think you're right about the cities, and I've talked to other people about it, is that the younger people are always going to want to live in big cities, right? The restaurants, the social life. Like, I mean, I think you're exactly right. People are not going to just take off to the suburbs or like the rural areas because of this at all.
I had very good friend of mine, software developer guy. He calls me up during the COVID pandemic. I was speaking, and he tells me, do you think no one is going to live in cities anymore? Like, aren't you worried? You guys are putting all these efforts on this. I'm like, no, it's going to pass, and we'll survive, and humanity is going to keep going, and cities are going to be exciting, and people are going to want to be in the center of cities, 100%.
Yeah. And I love that you keep saying and I believe it wholeheartedly. I actually had it wrong. I thought it was going to happen the end of last year, but that co-living will become its own asset class, like student accommodations. Like there's no doubt, like it has to be. So I'm glad you share that same view with me. Thank you so much. This was such a great interview. I knew before we started, we're like, we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm like, yeah. So it's been so cool. And then again, we're going to launch straight into John's interview. So you covered Spain. You did an amazing job. We're going to jump over and cover the States with John. So thanks again for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you want to learn more about co-living, you could check out my book on Amazon, The Co-Living Code. And of course, if you're looking for the perfect software to power your co-living concept, check out kindred.io, KNDRD.io. And another quick thank you for our partner, Anyplace. They make it easy to book a flexible, fully furnished accommodation anywhere around the world, whether it's an apartment, co-living space, or hotel. You can check them out at anyplace.com.